Podcast City Network.
This is Final Score, your number one podcast for sports news. Here are your hosts, Chris and Craig.
Hey guys, and welcome to another exciting episode of Final Score, episode 86. And this is going to be our holiday episode because we are just right around the corner from Christmas itself. And yesterday definitely did not feel like freaking Christmas. Thanks, Irish. We'll go ahead and talk about it right off rip. You screwed us. Anyways, I'll get mad more later. But still going to be a great episode, and I have none other than my true man, my true myth, my true legend, Craig. I can't do it without you, bud. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. We've been busy this week with Final Score, which we'll touch on later, but it's been an exciting weekend of football, and Jimmy actually is already in the chat calling you out, saying he was going to start a pool for how late the show was going to start today.
Oh, my gosh. My guess was 10:13. Oh, man. Ooh, that was close. That was close.
That was super close.
And yes,
Cheyenne laughs and says, Chris, you actually are alive?
Yes, I am alive. I am here. I hurt, but, you know, that's for obvious reasons. So, but we do actually have a show that we're going to have today, so let's actually try and get to it. But before we jump all the way in, you got to make sure that you follow us on social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. We are trying to bolster our numbers as you see above us, our Twitter followers and Facebook followers numbers. We have some goals. Try and help us hit those if you could. Please like, share, invite your friends. That's really a big one. Invite your friends. They like sports. You bless them with Final Score. Why not? So please, 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 at PCN Final Score, and we'll make some magic happen. But we have some other things that we're looking for, don't we, Craig?
Absolutely. The team at Podcast City Network and Final Score are looking for writers to help contribute to the podcast. We're looking for a sports writing role for those who want to gain some resume experience, build a brand as a journalist, love sports, or just want to grow in the business. If you want to learn more or think you'd be a good fit for our team, message us here on Facebook, or you can email pcnfinalscore@gmail.com.
Oh, yes, definitely go check it out. And, love having those contributors. Got a lot of great stuff that we're trying to do. And that means we got to dive right in now, I guess, to Week 15 action in the NFL. And this week, we had a Thursday night game again, but we also had 2 Saturday games, which was kind of unorthodox. But, hey, it's 2020. What do you expect? So this is what we get. But
right around Christmas time, the NFL always does this. They'll play Saturday games, and then they'll play games like before and after Christmas. It's kind of weird how they do it.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And I think a lot of it though is just like, oh yeah, but usually by this point, you know, we have college football kind of figured out already. But hey, 2020, you know, you get football and conference championships on the same day. So hey, that's how it worked out. But I'm not gonna complain. That's just more football, even though mine was filled with, you know, sadness. Anyways. Thursday night game, though, we had the LA Chargers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Chargers were able to take it close, 30-27. But I think the big story in this one was the fact that Derek Carr went out in the first quarter with a groin injury. Do we think that the Raiders are going to have problems going forward?
Well, it's tough. If you look at the standings, the Raiders sitting at 7-7. They're on the outside looking in right now, the wild card, and losing Derek Carr, that's a big blow. I mean, yeah, Marcus Mariota is filling in that spot, but their next couple games against the Dolphins, who have been very formidable this year, 8-5, and at the Broncos. And the Broncos, you've seen that you don't really know what you're getting from them week to week. So being on the road, that could be a challenge for the Raiders, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish out the season at 8-8, and I don't think 8-8 is going to be enough to make the playoffs for them.
No, I don't think it's going to be enough at all. And honestly, with how competitive the AFC is as a whole, let me English this morning, it's going to be very hard for the Raiders to try and get over that hump, especially if you have to rely on Marcus Mariota to get you there. I don't think he's going to be the guy to do it. But the biggest thing is that you see Derek Carr now. This is another injury. Of course, it's later in the year than it was last time when he went out. But it's just you're starting to see a pattern. He's starting to get injured more. He's starting to get dinged up more. The offensive line's not able to protect him quite as well as they used to. He's not able to move around and get the ball out quick enough because he doesn't have really great receiving help either. So I kind of feel bad for the guy, but at the end of the day, the Raiders aren't really doing much to help him. So,
well, gotta give Mario a little bit of credit. I mean, he didn't have a terrible game.
He didn't have a terrible game, no. But I just don't think he's going to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right on that. But the one thing that Mariota does bring to the table for the Raiders is his running ability. He did run for almost 100 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And then, of course, through the air, we know he's had some accuracy issues over the last couple of years. But that's going to be intriguing to see what happens. They're going to have to lean really heavily on Darren Waller, their tight end, who had another monster game on Thursday night. But really, if you're looking at, I really think that it's going to be tough. They're going to have a lot of help sitting in front of them. Both the Dolphins and Ravens at the 7 and 8 spot are 8-5, so they've already got extra games on them. So you're going to have to hope for a miracle if you are the Vegas Raiders to make the playoffs. But in their favor, they are in a very good position to take a step forward next year.
Absolutely. I think they definitely have pieces in place as long as they approach the draft well and be able to approach free agency well in the offseason. I think they'll have a really great shot to be able to have a great season next year. But this year, though, I think it's pretty much done, and I think they just need to kind of maybe pack it in at this point, you think? But I don't know. I guess we'll kind of see. But in our next – Yeah, but in our next game, though, we had 2 Saturday games, which was kind of crazy. But you had the Green Bay Packers traveling down to Carolina to take on taking on the Panthers at home. Ended up taking that one 24-16. Of course, Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers and, doing what he does best. But Green Bay just keeps rolling. Do you think anybody's going to stop Green Bay between now and playoffs?
Just kind of taking a look at their remaining schedule. They got the Titans and the Bears, a couple of teams that are going to be pretty good matchups for the Packers. I mean, the Packers destroyed the Bears earlier this year at home, so I don't think the Bears are going to be too much of an issue for the Packers, but it's that Titans game next weekend, right after Christmas, is the one that everyone's going to have circled on their calendars, another game of the week for the Packers. But kind of looking over this game, they did jump out to an early 17-3 lead at halftime, and then they kind of let the Panthers get back in it. So it's really more of a testament to, can opposing defenses slow down this duo of Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers?
Absolutely, and that's what it comes down to. And you look at Green Bay now sitting 11-3, have been absolutely decimating it. They also have the most prolific offense in the entire NFC, having scored 434 points on the season. So it's crazy to see what Aaron Rodgers does when he's able to get back to form and have a good receiver that's able to get in space. So it's going to be great, man. You're going to watch out for the Pack in the playoffs. But you know what? There was another game.
Yeah, Packers going to be an interesting draw in the playoffs for anybody. I mean,
oh yeah.
It's that, but they're susceptible to the run on defense, and that's really, they run up against a team like Tennessee next week. I think that's going to be a lot tighter of a game than some will give it credit for.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree, and I think Tennessee, when you got Derrick Henry, I mean, what are you going to do? So we'll definitely see how that plays out. But looking at our other Saturday game, I know the Bills Mafia out there has been losing their minds ever since the Bills not only beat the Broncos, thoroughly beat them 48-19, but the Bills also won the AFC East title for the first time, I believe, in, 25 years?
Since 1995.
1995. Jim Kelly era.
Quarterback Josh Allen was not even born yet the last time the Bills won the AFC East. Just let that sink in for a minute. The starting quarterback, the franchise quarterback for this team, wasn't even born the last time they won the AFC East.
I know, that's absolutely insane. But now the Bills are 11-3. Don't look now. 11-3, and believe it or not, have the second highest scoring offense in the NFL. So obviously they're getting it done, getting Stephon Diggs as a lead receiver. Obviously, great move, has worked out wonderfully, has really helped bolster Josh Allen to be the great quarterback that he's become this year. And because of that, he went 28 of 40, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, looking pretty solid. And then you look at Stephon Diggs, had 147 of those, so obviously it's working out. But someone else I want to highlight from this game, Cole Beasley, man. Out of nowhere, 8 catches, 112 yards. Where's he been?
He's been there. It's just he hasn't been as productive as he was when he was in Dallas a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
But having that number one receiver, I'm not surprised that he has this type of a game, because when you got Stephon Diggs on the other side, Cole Beasley can do what he does best, which is play the slot, move around, get underneath the coverage, get in those gaps, and be that blanket guy for Josh Allen if he gets in trouble.
Absolutely, but one crazy thing you got to look at too is that Josh Allen not only could use that arm, he used his legs and even scored 2 touchdowns. The dude is just money. Tell you what, Bill's got a good quarterback.
Yeah, and looking forward, the Bills have their remaining games are against the Patriots and the Dolphins. So you got to assume they're probably going to win the game against the Patriots. Then the Dolphins game is going to be very intriguing, because is at this point, would the Miami Dolphins be playing for a wild card spot, or are they going to be securely in? Are they going to be securely out? There's a lot of this. You're talking about 2 weeks away. So the Bills are in a great position right now. They're a half game behind the Steelers for the number 2 seed. So they have a very good shot at jumping up to that 2 spot, depending on how Miami kind of fares and depending on if they win out. There's a lot of great scenarios here in the AFC.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the crazy thing you got to look at is with the AFC, with playoffs this year, is that there's not going to be 2 buys. You only have that 1 seed getting the bye, and right now everybody in the AFC is chasing Kansas City. Kansas City sitting 12-1. Unless Kansas City just stumbles or just doesn't care that much about the 1 seed, I don't see them relinquishing it. So no matter what, you're just playing for home field advantage.
And even though you're playing for matchups too, because now the Bills sitting at the 3 seed, they would be matched up against the Colts in the first round, and the Steelers would have the Dolphins, and the Titans would have the Browns. So a lot of really good matchups here for the first round for the AFC. If it stands pat the way it is now, which obviously it won't. But that's what you're looking at. If you're the Bills, you want to try to get to that 2 seed, because you want the team that squeaks into the playoffs. But that could be either the Ravens, the Dolphins, or maybe even the Colts or Browns if they fumble. There's those 4 teams. All of them are within striking distance of being anywhere from 5 to 7.
Oh yeah, and when you look at the standings right now, the Browns have 5, Colts are at 6, Dolphins are at 7. But like you said, you have the Ravens, Raiders, and even the Patriots still have a shot. But everyone beyond that has already been mathematically eliminated. So really, it's just these 3 teams sitting behind 7 trying to vie and kick Miami out of that last spot. Maybe even trying to unseed the Colts a little. Who knows? But honestly, it's going to be an exciting couple of weeks of football. But
yeah, with the Colts are going to have a tough couple of weeks too. They're at the Steelers. Actually, they're playing Houston this week. Then they're at Pittsburgh, home against Jacksonville. So I mean, Texans have been giving people trouble lately. So I mean, that's not even a gimme game for the Colts. The only gimme game is the Jacksonville game. Yep. So assuming that they lose those 2 games, now you're looking at 10 probably.
Oof.
Because they got 1 win, and so 10-6. Is that going to keep you in the wild card? That's how good this playoff race is this year.
Oh,
10-6 might not even. We added an extra playoff team, and 10-6 might not even get you in. That's insane.
Oh, man, only feels the same story on the NFC side. But either way, though, a lot of great games are going to be lined up for today. They're going to really determine how a lot of this might shake out. And we're going to hit it right off the top with the 8-5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling up to Atlanta to take on the 4-9 Falcons. Tampa's favored by 6.5. I know Tom Brady and company are really trying to push and make sure that they can secure a playoff spot. So you got to make sure you take care of weak opponents. Atlanta Falcons still without Julio Jones, but Matty Ice is back there not playing the greatest football. So I mean, you look at it, Buccaneers should win this on paper, but the Falcons always seem to find a way to keep it close. But honestly, I think the Buccaneers will get the job done, but don't be surprised if the Falcons cover.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a tough game. Like you said, on paper, Bucs should take this game. But here's something to pay attention to. The Falcons, number 6 in the NFL in passing yards on offense. As far as defense is concerned, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 26th in passing yards allowed. So don't be surprised. I wouldn't even be surprised if Atlanta pulls off an upset here just because how up and down the Buccaneers have been. It's just been a wild, wild year in Atlanta and in Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out because, a lot of these teams we had better expectations of, and some things just fell kind of flat. Or if you're Tampa, hey, we got just blown out by teams we should have got blown out by. But, hey, it's why the games are played, right?
Absolutely. Next game in the 1 o'clock window, the San Francisco 49ers are 5-8, traveling to Arlington to play Dallas Cowboys, who are 4-9. The line is -3. It's actually just moved to 3.5 here. So San Francisco's favored by 3.5. Over-unders at 45. This game's on CBS. Kind of looking at the analysis for these two teams, it's really kind of, as of course my notes are not working again. This is fantastic. Gotta love it. Gotta love relying on that internet. But still looking at the last couple games. San Francisco's on a 2-game losing streak here. They lost to Buffalo and Washington. And for the Cowboys, man, it's just been a rough season, but they finally got back in the winning track against the Bengals there. This is a tight game. I think even regardless of the fact that these two teams are not very good this year, even though they had pretty high expectations, both teams are top 10 in passing offense in the league still. The 49ers are at 10, and Cowboys are at 7. Rushing yards are about the same. Like, these guys are so evenly matched, it's not even funny. They're so evenly matched, but I'm going to take 49ers here in this game just because there's still that inconsistency if you're the Cowboys offense. Their defense, we know, is not very good. They're 23rd overall on defense, but they are 3rd against the pass. So that's going to be a big interesting. Is that passing game for the 49ers against this defense for the Cowboys is kind of what I'm going to watch out for.
Yeah, but the thing I look at is that no matter what, like, while right now that's what the numbers may look like, both these teams are trending in different directions, in my opinion. Dallas, yeah, sure, they got to win over the Bengals last week, but they lost 2 weeks before that as well. Then got to win, then 4 losses before that. The Cowboys are the epitome of inconsistency. And the only reason that they were anywhere near the top 10 in passing was because of Dak Prescott, because he was number 1 when he went out with injuries. So a lot of that I think is more Dak than it is Andy Dalton or even Garrett Gilbert. So when you're looking at it, Dallas is still on the downtrend. Ezekiel Elliott still hasn't even broken 900 yards, let alone 9,000. This team is in disarray. San Francisco, though, while not the greatest team in the world, still I feel is on a better uptrend right now. They've been able to get a little bit more consistent on defense. That defense as a whole has been really marred by injuries this year. But as they got people back, it got better. And they better play good because I'm starting them in fantasy. So, let's see what happens. But
yeah, that rushing attack for San Francisco, having Mozart back really, really helps over the last couple of weeks.
And I'm starting him too.
And that Dallas defense against the rush, while they're very good against the pass, they're dead last against the run. So that's going to be another matchup here. And that's part of the reason why I would pick the 49ers here is that rushing attack and the fact that, as you mentioned already, Dallas is super inconsistent all year ever since they lost Dak Prescott.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. And just for George, I have to put it in there. But I tell you what, too much craziness. And thank you, George, for joining us of Not a Hockey Market Podcast. That podcast, new to Podcast City Network. Really great show. Definitely go check it out. But I tell you what, it's gonna be wild to see how this season goes. Hopefully, San Fran can pull that out though for my fantasy. But in our next game, we have the Detroit Lions, your Detroit Lions, at 5-8.
You're stealing my game on me.
Yeah, I did steal your game on you. I don't know. It's just how it worked out. Sorry. Welcome to the outline. The Detroit Lions at 5-8, traveling on down to Tennessee to take on the 9-4 Titans. Titans are favored by 11. This game is going to be interesting. Detroit will have Matt Stafford, if I'm not mistaken, for this week. DeAndre Swift been playing really good ball as well, but Detroit still just doesn't have enough pieces, I feel, to get things going. In Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill's been serviceable, but you got Derrick Henry in the backfield. Like, really, what else do you need? Like that when you have Derrick Henry, it's almost a gimme. It's like, here, just give him a ball and just let him run through whatever's in front of him. Doesn't matter what it is. He's like the juggernaut almost, just let him get a little momentum and just see what happens. It's going to be destructive. And I expect a lot of that today against Detroit. So sorry, but I think the Titans are not only going to win this, but they might just cover on the legs of Derrick Henry.
I'm with you here, just because the fact that you look at the last couple weeks since Darrell Bevell took over as the interim head coach, the Lions have been very competitive. They had the come from behind win to beat the Bears. They were very close. They had a chance to beat the Packers. And now you got a couple of really tough matchups here. But the matchup that we're looking at, as you mentioned, Derrick Henry versus the Lions rush defense. The Titans on offense, their rush defense is second in the NFL, 157 yards per game. Mm-hmm. The Lions are giving up 132 per game, which is 28th in the NFL. I don't think it's going to be a good game. I probably, even as a Lions fan, will not watch the game, even though it doesn't help that I don't really have.
Hello,
I can't
sir.
get access to
I
the
subjected
games.
myself. Okay, you can subject yourself too. It's okay.
It doesn't help that I don't really get the games. I have to find alternative routes to watch my Lions. So, I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I wouldn't mind skipping this game. I think it's going to be a lot of Derrick Henry. Even the one positive for the Lions is that they're top 10 in passing offense. They got 280 pass yards per game for 8th in the league, and against the defense for the Titans, they're 29th against the pass on defense. So I think that's going to keep it. That's going to keep it some hope for the Lions fans. But when you can control the clock with Derrick Henry the way that the Titans can, Stafford and company are not going to get a whole lot of chances. So when they're on the field, they got to really take advantage of it. Well, and I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm going to make a bold prediction right here today, now on the show, and I'm going to say Derrick Henry is going to rush for his 5th 200-yard game today.
Ooh.
And 2 touchdowns. His 5th one, he's going to do it today against Detroit.
As a Lions fan, I really hope you're wrong.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Oh, man, but it's going to be wild and painful. That's all I know, just based on which side you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, next game, Houston Texans are 4-9. They're traveling to Indy to play the Colts, who are 9-4. Indy is favored by 7, over-unders at 51, and this game's going to be on CBS. This is going to be an interesting game as well. I mean, you look at the last couple games for the Texans, they have lost. They lost a very close game against the Colts just a couple weeks ago, and then somehow got destroyed by the Bears, which was very surprising. Neither one of us predicted that.
It was just sad.
But looking at kind of the matchups here, Houston Texans, the one good thing they can hang their hat on is that passing offense. They're 3rd in the league, averaging 289 per game, but the Colts defense is also very formidable, especially just overall. They're top 6 in overall defense, top 5 against the run, which the Texans are dead last running the ball in offense. So
yeah, they are.
I think Deshaun Watson's going to get a few. They're going to get a few scores. They're gonna keep it close early, but I think that defense for the Colts is going to end up kind of just imposing its will and taking advantage of this game. Maybe they get a couple turnovers, but I'm going to take the Colts here they're going to go over, but very slightly. I'm not over. I'm sorry. They're going to cover. They're going to cover.
Man, that's I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting. I feel like the Houston's that team that just, God, they have all the pieces. They have the talent, and they just can't quite get it together this year. And it's been, I'm sure, very disappointing and agonizing for Texans fans everywhere. But man, Colts though not looking too bad.
Yeah, the last game was 26-20, so 6 points. I mean, now the spread is at 7. So it's gonna be tough, man. I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is a push. It's just like a 28-21 type game, just like the last one. But it's going to be a fun game to watch. So if you're a fan of either one of these teams, or if you get a chance to watch this game, I think it's going to be a very fun one to watch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And right before we move on to our next game, though, I got to throw this out there for Jimmy, who said in the chat that Derrick Henry, he's a man.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
He most definitely is. So, looking at our next game, we got the New England Patriots at 6-7, traveling on down to Hard Rock Stadium to take on the Miami Dolphins, who are 8-5. And man, Dolphins, they win this one. They guarantee themselves a winning season. I don't remember the last time they actually had one. I think it's been at least like 4 or 5 years, if not even longer. So
it's been quite a few, yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a few. Miami is favored by 1.5 in this. New England, though, does still have a shot at playoffs. It's a very long outside shot. They're going to need a lot of help. But New England would have to get things rolling, and it'd have to start with a win right here against Miami. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure the Patriots will be officially eliminated from playoffs, which would be absolutely insane given that they've had won 11 straight AFC East titles until this season. So, man, New England, man. I mean, we knew this was going to happen, but it's just like kind of sad to see it happen. And then you got Cam Newton, and we're like, oh, well, maybe. And now here we are with them sitting 6-7. And Cam Newton has not looked really that great at all. Definitely, they saved money, only spending like $1 million on him. So, way to go, Patriots! But I don't think they're gonna have enough in this game, though. I think that they have a good rushing attack with Damian Harris, and they might be able to move the ball a little. But Miami, I think, is going to be able to take this, and the plight of the Patriots shall continue.
The wild thing about this is that they did play earlier season. They played in week 1, in which Cam Newton looked pretty good. That Patriots defense looked good, forcing 3 turnovers against Fitzpatrick, but we had no Tua, and this Dolphins team really hadn't kind of established themselves in the season. But now in this matchup, it's kind of the opposite, where it's the Dolphins have really kind of solidified themselves on defense, and that defense is good, but it's statistically not great. They make stops when they need to. So I'm really going to pay attention to the Patriots and their rushing attack, trying to keep the ball away, keep the control of that clock, tire out that Dolphins defense. But don't ever forget, remember the last matchup was Fitzpatrick. Now we got Tua. It's the Belichick factor against rookie quarterbacks. We've seen how that's happened in the past and even this year. Look at Justin Herbert.
That's true.
And he's been balling out this year, and as soon as he ran into Bill Belichick, game over. So I would not be surprised. That's why this line is so close. I would not be surprised at all if the Patriots pull out a big upset here. Ooh. But that's a big but. Cam Newton's got to make sure that he does not turn the ball over. He's got to be consistent in his passing, or they got to really establish that run game. If Cam Newton has the type of game he had in week 1 against the Dolphins, I have no doubt in my mind that the Patriots will pull off an upset here.
Man, coming on here and talking about big butts, man. Woo! Getting wild. Anyways.
Hey, I like big butts. I cannot lie. As Sir Mix-a-Lot said.
Oh, my gosh. And there's our age. So, yeah, I could see where New England definitely could keep it close, and obviously the line is reflective of that. I just don't know if it's going to be enough, but we'll definitely see. Its game could almost be a pick-em, honestly, just because, like you said, absolutely, the Belichick factor can come into it. But the thing I look at is that Cam Newton just is so inconsistent, and I don't know if he's going to be able to find consistency against this improving Miami defense. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. That's why they play the games.
One thing to pay attention to also is that as far as rankings are concerned, the Patriots defense is ranked top 10 in the NFL, 7th against the pass. They're terrible against the run, but the offense of the Miami Dolphins, not good in any facet, overall passing or rushing. They're 25 or worse in almost every category.
Absolutely. And to answer a quick question in the chat from Jimmy, where do the Pats go? Draft or free agency? I feel like there's not going to be much in the way of options in free agency this upcoming season unless they make a crazy move for Carson Wentz, which I'll talk about more of that later. But I think they're going to end up having to go through the draft if they're going to want to really try and find their quarterback in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be where they're at, 6-7. Even if they win this game, get to 7-7, now they got a shot at the playoffs. You're not going to get a good draft pick in the middle. No. You're not going to get a good quarterback prospect because we've seen if you've been paying attention to the NFL draft, it's basically Trevor Lawrence and then a bunch of question marks. And I'm throwing Justin Fields' name in that too, because there are a bunch of question marks with the rest of the QB prospects. So unless you're planning on trading up to go get somebody like a Justin Fields or a Zach Wilson or I forget the kid from North Dakota State, Trey something.
Yeah,
You'll have to forgive me, everybody watching. But unless you're planning on trading up, I think a lot of experts are seeing 4 to 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round this year. So there's a possibility they could go get their guy, but I wouldn't bet on it. Belichick's at the point. He's not going to be coaching a whole lot longer. And this team's in kind of a transition. So I'm with you. They're going to have to either go make a trade or try to pick up somebody in free agency. And I don't have those stats in front of me, so I couldn't tell you kind of who's going to be free agents at the moment. But we can definitely talk about that in at the end of the season. We'll have a little show about what each team should do. That'd be fun.
No, that would be fun. That would be something we definitely could look into. But as of right now, New England has the 16th pick in the draft. And let's not forget, Denver got their quarterback at 16. Not saying they're good, but, I don't know.
Denver drafted their quarterback in the second round, by the way, Drew Lock.
No, they got him in the first round. It was 16th round or 16th pick.
Second round.
Nah,
Second round, bro.
Nah, bro.
Yep.
You're crazy.
Second round. Someone fact check that for us.
Yeah, fact check it for us. But either way, Jimmy makes a good point. Where was Brady drafted? 6th round. So anybody can come from anywhere. It doesn't really matter. Just being able to evaluate the talent and being able to turn it into something worthwhile. So, we'll see how it ends up working out. But what do we got for our next game?
Second round, pick 42.
Oh, this guy.
I got the fact check for you guys. It's all right. All right. NFC North matchup here: 6-7 Chicago Bears and the 6-7 Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota is favored by 2.5, and over/unders at 46.5. This is again kind of a tale of a couple of different teams here, because the Bears started off so hot and then got on a 6-game losing streak before finally dismantling the Texans 36-7 last week at home. Now they're traveling to Minnesota, and Minnesota has lost last week, kind of a tighter game against the Buccaneers, but beat a couple of hapless teams and took Jaguars to overtime to beat them. So I'm not really confident in either one of these teams, but I'm probably going to have to go with the Vikings here, just because of the inconsistency of Chicago's offense. Yes, I know what happened last week, but Chicago's defense also, they got a safety in that game. Like they did what they needed to do to put that team in position. Dalvin Cook still having a hell of a season, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, he's absolutely balling out as a rookie as well. Over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. That's really what we're looking at I'm not really even going to pay attention to the Bears offense versus the Vikings defense, because both of them are ranked in the 20s or lower in every single category. I'm looking at the offense, in the rushing offense of the Vikings. They're number 6 in the league, just under 150 yards a game. Are they going to be able to control the clock against this Bears defense, which is still top 15, top 20 in the NFL against the run? I think that's going to be the difference maker here, and I'm going to take the Vikings and cover the 3-point spread.
Oof. It definitely could happen, and we will see. In our next game, though, we got the 9-4 Seattle Seahawks traveling on over to the nation's capital to take on the football team club. They don't know who they are yet. The team who shall not be named. At 6-7, Seattle's favored by 6.5. The big storyline for this game, though, is that Alex Smith will not be playing in this game. The reins have been turned over to Dwayne Haskins. And I know if you're sitting there as a Washington fan, all you're thinking right now is, because we know that Dwayne Haskins is no Alex Smith. So I don't expect a whole lot out of Washington. You might see a little bit of tight end play. So if you got a tight end like me, like Logan Thomas, hey, go slot him in. He'd probably do good. But beyond that, you're not going to see very much out of this team. I honestly think Seattle's going to take this. They're going to destroy this over and destroy this team, because Dwayne Haskins is just not a good quarterback. If Alex Smith was in this game, I would actually say Washington has a shot to beat Seattle. But No Alex Smith, no win.
Yeah, we've seen what Dwayne Haskins unfortunately has been having to go through being the starting quarterback for Washington, and doesn't really look good. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Last game for our 1:00 window, the 1-12 Jacksonville Jaguars are going to travel to Baltimore. 8-5 Ravens. Ravens are favored by 13 here, and the over/unders at 48. I got two words for you here. Yannick Ngakoue. So this is going to be a game where Yannick Ngakoue and Calais Campbell, both now being on the Baltimore Ravens, they're facing the Jaguars for the first time since being traded. And I know Yannick Ngakoue went other places first, but this is a revenge game, especially for Yannick Ngakoue. He has a lot to prove. He basically wants to shove it in Jacksonville's face, the fact that you didn't treat me the way that I think you should have treated me. You didn't pay me the way I wanted to get paid. I'm going to come out for blood. And that's exactly the quote from Gardner Minshew earlier this week, is that now he said, quote, "Now Yannick's going to be out for blood," end quote. Yeah, Minshew said Wednesday. So I don't think there's going to be much of a game here. Jacksonville, even with Minshew back in the lineup, that's kept them a little bit more competitive. But we're talking about the Ravens. They're also fighting for a playoff spot. Jacksonville, at this point, they're right now pick number 2. Unless some miracle happens, they're not going to get number 1 pick and go get Trevor Lawrence. So they're really just trying to. I don't know what their goal is at this point, but the Ravens have more to fight for than the Jags do. So because of that, and just the fact that those little homecomings are happening here, I'm going to take the Ravens, and it's going to be covering the spread. They're going to cover the 13-point spread.
Oof, man, look at you go. Just calling it. But, hey, we'll see what happens, That's why the games are played, right? But our next game, in a game that probably the spread will actually live up to the hype, is the LA Rams taking on the New York Jets. Rams 9-4, Jets 0-13. Man, they are on the quest to be the new Detroit Lions. Rams are favored by 17.
Yes, someone join us.
Yeah.
Someone join us. We don't want to be the only one.
Yeah, right. This is not gonna even be a game. You want to talk about what could really be a toilet bowl for the Jets? Oh, my flush, there it is. Sorry, my flush handle wasn't working at first, but it's gonna be just an absolute decimation. Like, you're going to be seeing Sean McVay on the sideline asking his quarterback, saying, hey, let's try something new. Let's just
gentlemen, let's broaden our minds
and find new ways to just kill the Jets, because I think the Rams are going to win easily by maybe 24, 28, 31. Who knows? The numbers could go so stupidly high, we might even see new records for scoring. Who knows? The Jets are hapless. They are garbage, and it just keeps getting worse. Rams by 80, and let's move on to 10-4.
If you're the Jets, there's only one sliver of hope that you might have, and it's the fact that Jared Goff is very inconsistent. And three of the last, I just had it sitting up here. 3 of the last 5 games, the Jets have kept it within a score.
That is incorrect.
Because you know what they're gonna do? You know what they're going to do? They're going to keep going with the awesome team mantra of crap team perfection, and they're just going to keep it going until they're 0-16 so they can hopefully get Trevor Lawrence.
I don't know why they would do that when you got Sam Darnold. I mean, not that he's great, but
why did the Cardinals draft Kyler Murray when you have Josh Rosen? I mean, come on now.
I'm just saying, all the hype about Sam Darnold that came out too, and there's similar hype about Trevor Lawrence, so I'm just saying, man. I'm saying you can't pass on a guy like that. We're talking about the Jets here. They don't know how to develop anybody.
Oh,
they don't know how to develop anybody.
I wish I would have grabbed the meme for today's show. I didn't even think about it. Saw a great meme, and it was with Thanos telling Trevor Lawrence, you will know losing and all this kind of stuff. Like, the Jets take people who are winners and turn them into losers. Look at Le'Veon Bell, for instance. Le'Veon Bell played great in Pittsburgh, goes to New York, he's garbage. Leaves New York, I mean, he's still kind of garbage, but it's okay, because we know what they are who we thought they were, so it's okay.
Yep. All right, in our last game in the 4:05 window, I got your game. You got my game. I got your game. The
Somehow worked out that way.
Philadelphia Eagles 4-8-1, coming off a huge upset win over the Saints last week, 24-21. They're going to be playing against the Arizona Cardinals, who are 7-6. Arizona fighting for a playoff spot, and the Eagles still have an outside shot at winning the NFC East. Arizona's favored by 6.5. The over-unders at 49.5. Now for this game, I like as much. I know I'm gonna let you talk about this because I want to hear how I can't even say Saint Nick because he's not there anymore, but it's all hail Hurts at this point, I think, in Philadelphia.
Hail Hurts. I like that. All hail Hurts. I like that.
Look at what Jalen Hurts did in that start. 167 pass yards. Yeah, he was just over 50% throwing, but look at what they did on the ground. He had 106 yards on 18 carries. He averaged 6 yards a carry. Miles Sanders came to play, 2 touchdowns, 115 yards, and 8 yards a carry. Now, looking at how the Cardinals match up, just from their perspective, their defense is a lot of middle-of-the-road stuff. And the one thing that I think the Eagles really have a chance in, not only is that they are top 10 in pass defense, by the way,
yes,
but they're top 10 in rush offense. And if you get Jalen Hurts the way you had him rolling against a very good Saints team, I honestly think the Eagles, yes, we talk about their injuries all the time, and you can throw Carson Wentz under the bus as much as you want. But right now, to the end of the season, it is Jalen Hurts' team. All hail Hurts.
Well,
for the end of the season, and I'm gonna take the Eagles in an upset.
Oh my God! You try to make me happy and piss me off at the same time. All right, so with this game,
I'm taking the Eagles in an upset. Does it make sense? No, but it didn't make sense for Jalen Hurts and that offense to show up how they did against the Saints last week either.
I mean, when you got Taysom Hill at quarterback, though, I mean, you're only going to be able to do so much when you're the Saints. And looking at it, too, I mean, Miles Sanders busted an 80-yard run. Jalen Hurts, he played great. I can't even knock it. Made some beautiful throws, some great runs, some great decision-making. But the biggest distraction right now, and yes, I'm calling it a full-blown distraction because it could even derail the team this week, is Carson Wentz coming out and saying that I'm not interested in being a backup. I want to be a starter. And if that's not going to happen here, maybe it's time to move on. So Carson Wentz is definitely open to being moved. And now you got Jalen Hurts sitting here. Jalen all hail Hurts, as Jimmy's putting it. It's hard. It's so hard to fathom, but it's so believable at the same time to see where this team has been, where it is now, and the fact that Carson Wentz, I don't know if he actually fits into the plans going forward anymore. He plays timid. He plays scared. When I saw some of the throws Jalen Hurts was making and some of the plays and decision making he was making, it reminded me of 2017 Carson Wentz. I saw those flashes. I don't see that in Carson Wentz now, and that's the thing. He double pumps because he's second guessing himself. He second guesses the coverage. He makes bad reads. He gets all jumpy in the pocket. You can't win with that. So
I have a question. Did last night just knock some sense into you, getting just wallowing your sorrow? Because you wake up, I don't know who this Chris is. You've been defending Carson Wentz so hard on this show over the last 2 years, and this is did we switch spots? Did we just switch brains?
I'm saying it now. Carson Wentz has given up on the Philadelphia Eagles because the Philadelphia Eagles have also given up on Carson Wentz.
But with how hard Doug Peterson's been defending him and staying on his side.
But it's not Doug's
Carson
call.
Wentz should have been benched weeks ago.
Of course. Oh, absolutely.
And he still was playing.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but
when you have a golden
Wentz,
pony boy that you're giving all this money to, you want to try and stay and keep face, and eventually that's where talent and reality hits.
This move by Carson Wentz is a crybaby bitch move, and I'm throwing that out there because there's no way when Doug Peterson gives you all that slack and it has your back and you play like garbage, injuries aside, I don't care how many other players still deal with that too. But look at how he's reacting now.
Oh, I
how
know.
he's reacting. It's a crybaby bitch move.
Oh, it is. It's well, I'm not getting played, so I want to get moved. And but the thing
That's
is,
like
I can understand if he was a better
what's his
player.
name in college? Who's the kid that did that in college? A bunch of them have been doing it. Justin Fields did it.
Yeah,
at Georgia.
Well, I mean, he transferred. I mean, when you look at every single transfer you ever see in college football, you can kind of claim that, where it's like, oh, well, I'm not getting started. So
yeah, but you're a professional athlete, man. You're playing like shit, and you're getting paid way too much to play as bad as you're playing, and you got benched because you're not playing well, and now your backup's playing well. You should be the leader that you're supposed to be, which is why a lot of things are falling apart because Nick Foles was gone, and I'm bringing that back.
Oh, Jesus.
And look, this is the leader that Carson Wentz should be. Yeah, I know I haven't been playing well. I don't deserve it right now. And Jalen Hurts went out and played really well last week. I'm going to do what I can for this team, and I'm going to make sure that I stay healthy and stay in right mind. So when I'm called upon again, I'll come out and do what's best for this team. That's what you should say.
Yeah, you
and
should.
He's not saying it.
And I think that is honestly more telling of where the locker room is right now, where Carson Wentz's head is right now, and what we've been dealing with really since we won the Super Bowl. Because let's not forget, there was already turmoil right after they won the Super Bowl, where you ended up having Malcolm Jenkins leave the team and saying, you know what, this team's still stuck. Like they won the Super Bowl. The hangover's still there, and we're over a year removed. And it's, I think, just showing everything that's going on. It may come down to having to have a regime change. Might have to make a change at head coach. Might have to get rid of this quarterback. Whatever needs to be done, though, needs to be done, because at this point, the locker room is starting to stagnate. It's starting to split. Carson Wentz obviously doesn't want to be there if he's not going to start, which is kind of a selfish move onto himself if he wants to try and be a winner. You know, you were all fine when Nick Foles was winning a Super Bowl, but now things ain't going great. Now you won out. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, but
I've been on that train for about a year already about Carson Wentz. So that's not, I'm not, it's kind of a surprising move that he would do this now.
Yeah.
But
I think it's because maybe he had somebody in his ear telling him that maybe he was going to get the job back somehow. That maybe this is just an experiment for 1 week to kick him in the ass.
And
Doesn't seem that way.
You must think it's got to be Doug Peterson, because he loves, like, he pulls so many strings for Carson Wentz. And the fact that it's not working, and now Carson Wentz is crybabying about I'm getting paid a ton of money. He's pulling like an Antonio Brown type move here, being the diva. He's being a complete fucking diva.
Yeah, he is being a damn diva right now, and that pisses me off.
In a blue collar city like Philadelphia, where the people like will turn on you on a dime.
We threw snowballs at Santa.
Yeah, that's the wrong move. Carson Wentz, that's the wrong move to do against Philadelphia fans.
Yeah, they will not take to it kindly. So, I don't know. We'll see how it works out. Philadelphia, though, whether they win this division or not, it's going to be looking like a garbage season because it's going to be a losing season. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But in our 425 game, we have the 12-1 Kansas City Chiefs traveling on down to the Superdome to take on the 10-3 New Orleans Saints, who will have Drew Brees back this week. Already been announced that he will be back. Kansas City is still favored by 3 in this, though. This game's going to be interesting, and I think it's going to come down to how much they are going to allow Drew Brees to do. They're going to try and protect him as much as they can. They're not going to try and overwork him. They're not going to try and put him in a position to take unnecessary shots. However, he is going to be without Michael Thomas. So Michael Thomas is on IR now for the rest of the season. Now you have to try and find ways to get that ball down the field. Reads are going to be different. He's already going to be a little bit off because he hasn't played in a few weeks. This is going to be interesting to kind of see how Drew Brees takes on this challenge of the Kansas City Chiefs coming off this injury. However, you still have Alvin Kamara. You still have weapons in that offense. You still have a really good defense. So this game, I think, will come down to the wire, but I think just because this is the first game back for Brees, and it's going to take, I think, a little bit for him to really get back in rhythm, especially without Michael Thomas, I think Kansas City is going to end up taking this one close, but still do not count out the Saints going forward.
Absolutely. I think that's spot on right there. That's a spot on analysis there by Chris. Sunday night football matchup, 9-4 Cleveland Browns on their first winning season in quite a few years. They're traveling the Meadowlands. They're going to be playing the Giants. The Giants are 5-8, still fighting for the NFC East title. The Cleveland Browns are favored by 6.5, over-unders at 44, and no matter who wins, Giants are covering. That's just how I'm looking at it here, because if you look at the last couple of games from the Giants, they are on a 4-game win streak. They beat the Seahawks in that time, which is one of the better teams in the NFL, which is kind of a surprise. All 4 of those games, 10 points or less. 3 of those games, it's been 5 points or less. So, and they've pulled out those tight games. And at home, let's see. At home, the Giants are only 2-4, but that 4-game win streak and kind of how they've been playing over the last couple weeks really is kind of the deciding factor here. I think it's going to be tight. I will take the Browns to win, but it's going to be really tight. I think it's going to be a dogfight of a game.
Ooh, man, dogfight of a game. He says it's going to be
both
interesting.
Both teams are in the top 10 in rushing offense. Rushing offense for the Browns, and the Giants defense is top 10 against the run. So that's going to be you're going to be relying a little bit on Baker Mayfield's arm, which we've seen when he's had to throw and not have to rely on the run. He hasn't really made great decisions. He is really good when he's got a strong running game behind him, and he doesn't have to make a ton of decisions. He's just got to use the play action to his advantage and find the wide open guy. And I don't know. That's going to be a really interesting matchup. That's why I think it's going to be such a close game. The Browns, Kevin Stefanski's done a hell of a job with that team. But that rushing offense versus that rushing defense is the matchup I'm watching for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be interesting. But in our Monday night game, we have our 11-2 Pittsburgh Steelers coming off 2 straight losses. Yep. Traveling on the road to Cincinnati to take on the 2-10-1 Bengals. Pittsburgh are favored by 13. Yeah, I want to say the Steelers are going to walk in here and just start bombing it and win the game. But as the last 2 weeks have taught us anything, that is not a for sure thing. And Cincinnati, even with all their issues, I can't even count them out. And I can't believe I'm even saying this about between 11-2 and a 2-10-1 team. But hey, lose 2 games in a row the way you have, this is what you get. However, Cincinnati is not as talented as the last 2 teams, so I think Steelers still win this one. But I can't believe I'm going to say this. Don't be surprised if the Bengals might actually cover this.
I'm with you. I mean, I've been talking for weeks about how the Bears are the weakest, whatever their record is, team in the NFL. The Steelers are the weakest 11-2 team I've seen in a long time. I mean, you look at their defense. Yes, their defense is top 5. It's number 3 overall, 4 against the pass, 6 against the run. Yes, we all know that. But look at how terrible their offense is. They are second to dead last in running the ball on offense. They are middle of the road passing offense. So many drops by the receivers on this team. They're 23rd in overall offense. That right there is what could keep the Bengals in the game, is how bad this offense is for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I think the Steelers defense is going to get them some turnovers, and the defense might even score more points than the offense in this game for the Steelers. So I wouldn't be surprised on that, but I'm with you. Steelers will probably win, but I would not be surprised to see the Bengals cover.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely going to be interesting how this plays out. Steelers looking real weak right now, which makes me think that, hey, maybe they're one and done in the playoffs too, but I don't know.
I've been calling that for weeks. The Steelers are one and done in the playoffs. They come up against a good matchup, they're done. I've been calling that for weeks.
Oh, yeah, and we'll definitely have more on it as we go forward, but you definitely got to make sure to check back with us next week for episode 87 when we'll have more on the progress of the NFL season when we cover week 16. Definitely going to be interesting, but you know what else is interesting is just the myriad of amazing things that you can get on the PCN shop. What can you tell us about that, Greg?
Absolutely. Whether it's a neck gaiter to protect you from COVID-19, a mug for your morning coffee, or just a T-shirt, you want to look good and represent your favorite podcast on the network, we've got you covered. Get the latest apparel and gear for your favorite podcast and Podcast City Network by visiting podcastcity.net/shop and checking out the lineup. And just a reminder, also, any purchases that are made, we do get a percentage of that. So that does go to support us and help us make the show better, make the network better. So your support is greatly appreciated.
Yes, absolutely. And it definitely helps out in more ways than you can imagine. So definitely, please go on, check it out, podcastcity.net/shop. But not only do we have the gear, but we also got the interviews. What can you tell us about all these crazy interviews we got going on?
Yeah, we've been really busy on the interview front this week with the NBA season right around the corner. We've got 3 great interviews that we've wrapped up this week. We had one very early this week with Paris Jackson of the Showcase podcast. His social media is at PJ Showcase on Twitter and Instagram. Him and I talked about some first half predictions, and we talked about COVID and the NBA and just kind of his overall thoughts on where things will fall. Second interview we had Friday night, which I just released on social media yesterday. Andrew Hopper of the Brew Party podcast. His social media there is at the Brew Party podcast on Facebook and at the Brew Party on Twitter and Instagram. And I'll throw those in the chat here. So if you're watching, if you want to go check those out. But that was a lot of fun. We talked about his Chicago Bulls. We talked about some of the news and happenings in the NBA. That was a lot of fun hanging out with Andrew as well. And last, we had Gerald Glassford of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. We did that interview last night. That actually is going to get released today. I'm almost done getting that ready to go for release. So if you want to check out more from those interviews, Gerald's Facebook is at Lakers Fast Break on Facebook and Twitter. So if you want to check out information and hear about the NBA, they do talk mostly Lakers, but they talk about a lot of other things going on around the NBA. I've been a guest on that show before and probably again very soon. So looking forward to those. But check out all those interviews. They are going to be on YouTube. We share them on all of our social medias as well, but those are going to be accessible on YouTube. So go ahead, check that out. Search keyword Final Score and go ahead and give us a subscribe there. We're trying to up that as well. We've got about 25 subs at the moment, but a lot of views, more views from the last 2 interviews that we've done this week than a lot of our interviews we've had over the last couple months. So that's trending in the right direction. But it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing more interviews again after the first of the year. We've got a few really good interviews lined up for you. So pay attention to that coming at you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely going to be a lot of great stuff. And when we have those out, you'll also be able to catch them on all of our great content platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Podcasts, and, of course, YouTube, where you'll be able to catch the majority of them. Just make sure to go on all those platforms, search Final Score, one word, and be able to find all of them. It's going to be some great stuff. And, of course, don't forget, you can also find us on the website, podcastcity.net/Final Score. So much good stuff, man. We're really trying to come out with some stuff that you guys will love. And if there's anything you guys ever want to see, anything you guys ever want to hear from, or maybe someone you think we should try and go interview, let us know. We always try to bring the very best that we can, and the only way we can do it is if we know what you guys want. So let us know. Hit us up in the comments, message us, email us. We got all kinds of ways to contact us. Oh, man. But still, a lot of great stuff that's going to be on the show. We got some college football action. Of course, we had conference championship games this past weekend. And we can go ahead and address the monkey in the room. Yes, Notre Dame got their asses handed to them. I did call it, though. Trevor Lawrence only played as good as DJ did. So at least I was right about something. But, hey, it was only 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. They both played about the same.
So all that talking that smack about how you held ETN, how'd that happen this weekend?
Yeah, we forgot how to play defense. We got hit by bombs from Trevor Lawrence, which opened up the run game. We could not get our run game going ourselves. Ian Book. But here's the crazy thing, and this is the one problem for Notre Dame that's always been their problem, is that they have no vertical passing game. And Notre Dame flat out did not take shots downfield, but they played good in the passing game. You still had Ian Book, who was 16 of 22 for like 219 yards, I think it was. No scores, but no turnovers. So it's not bad, but it's not great. And that's the problem, is that you see where Trevor Lawrence can go out and throw a 67-yard bomb to Amari Rodgers and score a touchdown, but Ian Book can't get it down the same way. So our biggest problem has always been the quarterback position. Of course, I've seen every comment. I have seen every meme. I have seen every rant, rave, everything there is about this game. No, Brian Kelly's not getting fired because he loses one game. Yes, no. Notre Dame has won big games before. It's why they have 11 national titles. Like, come on. It's ridiculous when you see people just start flipping out, calling them fraud game and all that. So
what people are forgetting, too, is that, yes, Notre Dame has 11 national titles, but when was the last one they looked at? You got to think of the recency here, and that's what people are looking at. Oh, no. So I'm not trying to throw shade, but I'm just saying, like, some of the last big games people remember from Notre Dame is like the Brady Quinn game. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, but you're also talking about a completely different team setup because you're talking about the Charlie Weiss days where everything was predicated on him flashing his fingers around with 3 rings on him because Tom Brady won 3 Super Bowls.
That's what I'm saying is that when you hear those rants and raves about how they can't do the big game, it's the thing with Big Game Bob at Oklahoma when he was there. Bob Stoops couldn't win big games.
Well, let's go ahead and look at it then. You know, they still beat Oklahoma on the road in 2012. They still beat Clemson, number 1 Clemson at home this year. Beyond that,
stop with that because Trevor Lawrence wasn't there.
Doesn't matter. Win's a win, and how's history going to look at it? Exactly. Because guess what?
How's the college football playoff committee going to look at it?
Still as a win, because that's probably what's going to end up getting us into the college football playoff when they announce the picks in 45 minutes. Which, yes, if you want to see the picks for the college football selection committee, 45 minutes at noon, the selection committee will be announcing what teams will make the playoff.
Yeah, before we get into that, we do want to really quickly go over the other championship games because I know you and I want to dive into this. Yeah. So SEC title game actually ended up being pretty interesting game.
Classic.
I mean, Alabama took a pretty big lead early. They got up 28-10, and then Florida came back, and then Alabama scored again, and then it became a really close game at the end of the third quarter. Florida scored to make it 35-31, and then from there it was just kind of back and forth, but mostly all Alabama here. Defense was just non-existent in this game. It was. There's not really a whole lot to go over here. I mean, Mac Jones, 5 touchdowns, 400 yards.
Jones and Trask both broke the SEC championship game record for passing yards in this game together.
Yep.
Jones took first, Trask took second.
Yep. Trask had 408 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, of course, he looked good. There was no rushing game to speak of for Florida. They didn't even attempt it, really. But they had 2 guys go over 100 yards in receiving. Pitts had 129 and Tony had 153. Like that's some wild stuff if you look at that. But I mean, Najee Harris 178 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Bama, even though this was kind of a close game, Bama to me solidified the number 1 spot with this. I mean, you take down a team like Florida, and Florida, their loss, of course, against Texas A&M earlier this year, really kind of hurt. And, of course, that ugly loss against LSU does not help. But Bama, I think they solidified themselves as the number one seed.
Absolutely. Like, you can't deny what they've been able to do, especially when everybody's been calling for Trask to win the Heisman anyways. He goes out, gives that kind of performance, and still loses. It's absolutely amazing to see, excuse me, what Nick Saban's been able to do at Alabama all these years and still just keeps on doing it, is able to produce amazing wide receivers, able to produce really serviceable and good quarterbacks. It's just crazy to see how they just keep on winning. If they don't have every single first place vote in every single poll, I will be surprised. But Alabama, man, SEC champs for the sixth time for 5th time in a row or something like that. I don't even know.
Yeah, fifth in a row actually. We kind of already touched on the ACC. We'll leave that.
Yeah,
but
we'll let that
the Big Ten, the Big Ten and all their controversy. Number 4 Ohio State getting in, even though they weren't supposed to get in originally on the season. The Big Ten kind of retracted their restrictions about who makes the Big Ten championship game. They beat number 14 Northwestern 22-10. This was not a pretty game if you are an Ohio State fan. Yes, you got the win, so that's what you can hang your hat on. But Ohio State was down 10-3 in the second quarter. They finally took the lead 13-10 in the third quarter and then got a field goal and a touchdown. But really here, you want to look at Trey Sermon. He broke Eddie George's record for rushing yards in a game, set the Big Ten championship record there, 331 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Justin Fields looked like absolute dog shit in this game, 114 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, got 3 sacks. This is not the type of game you want if you're a Big Ten fan, because Ohio State barely, even though the scoreboard says 22-10, they barely beat Northwestern. Okay, this is not a strong showing for the Big Ten, and you're trying to basically make your argument whether you should stay in the playoff now, or does a team like Texas A&M take your spot, who had a dominating win today, and their only losses against Florida, I believe, not Florida, Bama. Their only losses against Bama. So it just kind of depends on how wild 2020 has been with COVID. And it's not a really strong showing for Ohio State fans and for the Big Ten in general. So that's really kind of what I'm paying attention to, is of those other games that happened. Do I think Ohio State deserves to be in? I don't know. I'm a little biased being a Michigan fan, but as my unbiased opinion, are they one of the best teams in the country? If we had a full season, probably. But the way things have been playing, and they haven't played many games, they got in because of a rule change, and they didn't look good against an actually very good Northwestern team that has been much, much improved this year. I mean, you can make the argument for Ohio State. You can make the argument against Ohio State. Just kind of depends on how you want to look at it.
My biggest thing, and I think this is the big thing a lot of people are looking at, is the fact that it's hard to try and put in a team that's only 6-0 and played only 6 games versus a team like Notre Dame. Even though they did just lose, they have played 11 games already this season, including splitting with Clemson. So it's and then you look at Texas A&M, who's played 8 games, and got blown out by Alabama by 28, which is their only loss, but rolled through the rest of their schedule, including a win over Florida. So it's, when you look at it, there's so many ways that you can look at how the playoffs should be. But we're going to touch on that in a little bit. We're still going to try and cover the rest of these games real quick, including the AAC championship with the number 9 Cincinnati Bearcats beating number 23 Tulsa 27-24. This game was close all the way throughout until Cincinnati was able to boot through a field goal at the end to win it. This game, though, I think hurt Cincinnati. Any kind of minute chance they had of making the playoff, I think was already gone. But this, I think, pretty much sealed it. You can't play against Tulsa close in a conference championship and expect to make the playoff like that. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
so
this is really just they're positioning for best of 5 here, and that's really getting that win. They're going to be the highest ranked non-Power 5 team, so they're going to get the best of 5 nod, which is well deserved here. That's really going to be all you really need to take away from this game. Big 12 championship, number 6 Iowa State goes down to number 10 Oklahoma in a close game, 27-21. We called this quote unquote upset last week. Oklahoma has Iowa State's number, and Iowa State now with their 3rd loss in the season. They weren't going to get in the playoff anyway, even though they were somehow number 6. Not a good showing for the Big 12 this year, because Oklahoma, a couple losses themselves, not really great there. The Sun Belt Championship was canceled. That's really bad for Coastal Carolina, because now if they would have won against Louisiana Lafayette, they could have made a case for the best of 5 pairing against Cincinnati or over Cincinnati. If they had a dominating win, they could have made that push, but they're not even going to get the chance. So I'm really interested to see how those 2 teams fall from a bowl standpoint.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because now they lose that power, that strength of a conference championship, because now the game's just not going to be played. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. But the thing is that I'm really looking at on the back end of all this is that a lot of teams are already opting out, and some bowls have already been canceled. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But with the Pac-12 championship, Oregon ended up going in, replacing Washington due to COVID-19 issues, and beats number 13 USC 31-24. And honestly, the scoreboard doesn't really reflect how this game was played, because the game was much wider than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is another thing for the Pac-12, another disaster for this conference, because you had You had USC ranked number 13. They were 5-0 undefeated. Yes, I know, only 5-0. Remember, they started way later than everybody else. If USC wins, you have an argument to make them in a New Year's Six type game. Like, you've got an argument to make them into a higher ranking bowl game. But now they go and they completely shit the bed against Oregon. Oregon wins. They get now 5-2 on the season. So Oregon's going to get the Pac-12 bid for, the New Year's Bowls, but it's really, again, another lost opportunity for a conference that really wanted to make themselves be seen in this crazy COVID-ravaged season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be crazy how it ends up playing out, because when you look at it, Oregon now is that representative, but what bowl do they go to now? Because we're already seeing things happening with the Rose Bowl, which we're going to touch on more of that later. And that usually would be the destination for the Pac-12 champion. So it's going to be real crazy to see how bowl season works out. And honestly, it might not even be something we can dive too deep into today, just because there are so many question marks with everything right now. But with the Conference USA Championship, we saw UAB take down Marshall 22-13. UAB finally getting them a little bit of success after having their program pretty much dead for, I believe it was 2 years before they would even return to play. So great to see their program turn around.
Absolutely. And another rough kind of end of the season for Marshall. They were 7-1. They had lost against Rice. They got blanked. So that kind of dashed any best of 5 hopes that they had. They had their game canceled against Charlotte and then losing this game against UAB. While you love to see the story about UAB kind of bringing their program back literally from the dead, you got to be disappointed if you're a Marshall Thundering Herd fan here. Moving on to the MAC championship, Ball State in an upset over the Buffalo Bulls, 38-28 in the MAC championship game. I will go on record to say I was absolutely wrong here. I called Buffalo to literally run away with this game on the back of their backfield, and that didn't happen. Ball State, even though they should have lost the game against Western Michigan a couple weeks ago, hey, a lot of credit to Ball State Cardinals. They get their first championship in a very long time. Trying to make sure. I got the year for this, but they win their first MAC championship in a very long time. Their mantra this year was championship or bust, and congratulations to them. They succeeded in their goal.
Absolutely, they did. And another team that succeeded in their goal, who I don't believe has won the Mountain West in ever, was the number 24 San Jose Trojans, who ended up Spartans, who ended up beating Boise State 34-20 to claim the Mountain West title. Hats off to the Spartans being able to make it happen.
Absolutely, and I mean, even against a well-known power team in the Mountain West like Boise State, to have San Jose State come in, they've only been in this conference for a couple years. They go undefeated. They're ranked, and hey, you got a Mountain West championship to boot. So I think that'll definitely bolster their chances to get a good bowl game, whether they decide to go or not. I think that's again, more kudos to them. Hats off to the Spartans, San Jose State.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hats off to them being able to pull that off. But now we look at the fact, obviously we talked about the ACC title game, Notre Dame gets beat, but now we got to look at the college football top 4. The announcement's going to be coming out in about 35 minutes of who the top 4 will be. But obviously we got time to speculate a little bit. So with that, who is in your college football playoff top 4?
My top 4 versus how I think the top 4 is going to go is going to be slightly different. So my number 1 is going to be Bama. Number 2 is going to be Clemson. Number 3, this is tough. I think it's going to be number 3 is going to be Ohio State, and then number 4 will probably be Notre Dame. Just because the only other team that, in my opinion, has a legit argument to get in the top 4 is Texas A&M, but they didn't play in the championship. Their only signature win is against Florida. Yes, Florida gave Bama a game, but this is where you start to get really muddy waters. So in my opinion, I think that the committee is going to go Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. But I would not be surprised, and I'm not saying this is true, false. I'm just saying this is something to think about. I would not be surprised to see the committee put a team like Texas A&M over Notre Dame just because, yes, they did win in double overtime against Clemson, but no Trevor Lawrence. You see the difference when he was there. I'm just saying that's something that the committee could think about, and I think it's going to be Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame, but I'm just saying, devil's advocate, there's a possibility that the committee could look at that game against Notre Dame and Clemson, double overtime, no Trevor Lawrence. Notre Dame squeaked out a win, and then they did not play well at all when Trevor Lawrence was back in the lineup. And Texas A&M, yes, they lost against Bama, who's easily the number one team, and they beat Florida, who gave Bama a game. So I'm just I'm playing devil's advocate, but
of course.
That's
but
possible.
When you look at the full breakdown of it, of how that ACC title game broke out, really it's Clemson playing a perfect second quarter, and that's about it. Because let's not forget that they only scored 10 points the rest of the way. The defense gave them all kinds of problems. Clemson did not score on the first 3 drives of the third quarter. There's a lot of ways you could break this down. That, and of course, yes, no Trevor Lawrence playing at South Bend. Yeah, it's crazy, a little different than having Trevor Lawrence playing on a neutral field. So the way you look at it, though, Notre Dame still played 11 games. Ohio State is a conference champion. Texas A&M, though, already been blown out by Alabama. Only good win against Florida. So with my top 4, no matter what, 100% Alabama's number 1. Cannot deny that. Clemson, 100% number 2. You go out and beat Notre Dame like that, and your only other loss was to Notre Dame, yeah, you're number 2. Ohio State, them winning the conference championship and being 6-0, and I hate even having to say this, are number 3. Now, everything comes down to number 4, Notre Dame or Texas A&M. In my opinion, it should be Notre Dame, and that's even with bias aside. Notre Dame, I think, bolsters the better resume, having run through the ACC, already do have a home win against Clemson with or without Trevor Lawrence. While it will matter, it's still a win against the number 1 team in the country, so that's still going to weigh heavily, and they were able to run it all the way to the ACC title game, which obviously they ended up losing to Clemson. I think them splitting against Clemson is the one thing that's going to keep Notre Dame in it. Texas A&M having the win against Florida helps, but them suffering their 3rd loss and not winning the SEC, that hurts Texas A&M's chances because their only loss ended up being to the SEC champion by 28 points. So I can see the College Football Playoff Committee wanting to go one way or the other very easily, but I still think it'll end up being Notre Dame. So I'll say Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Notre Dame.
Yeah, the only argument, or I should say the only kind of dark mark you can put against both Texas A&M and Notre Dame, outside of those marquee games, Texas A&M, they had barely beat Vanderbilt, who's garbage. They did have a good game against Florida, but LSU's down, Auburn's down. Not really a strong SEC schedule for Texas A&M. But if you look at Notre Dame's schedule that you've been so highly touting, they have won against a bunch of garbage teams too. Duke, South Florida, Florida State, Louisville, Pitt, Georgia Tech. Like, there's not outside
North
of
Carolina,
Boston College.
Ranked. Boston College, solid team. Clemson, number 1 team.
Okay, so you could throw the solid team argument out the window because they don't care. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying
wins against
majority
ranked
of the
teams
schedule,
do matter, and that's the thing that all these teams don't
of the
have.
Schedule is garbage.
Uh-huh.
You played against bottom tier ACC teams.
Hey,
I'm just
ACC
saying
chose the
advocate.
schedule, not us. So at the end of the day, though, we still have 2 wins
I'm making
against
the
ranked
same
opponents.
argument against Texas A&M.
Who have 1 win against a ranked team. One.
You're not getting what I'm saying, but it's not going to matter. We think we know who the top 4 are going to be, and I think that's how the playoff committee is going to take it too. I'm just saying, devil's advocate. Both of them had weak schedules outside of those marquee wins.
Oh, George has a nice look at this though too. Is that saying having a rubber match might be more attractive to the playoff committee, and that with Ohio State only playing 6 games, that it could hurt them and put them at number 4 and still keep Notre Dame at number 3. That'd be interesting.
That is very possible.
It's possible, but I don't think it'll happen. I think the Big Ten title is just going to weigh too much.
Yeah, I think you're right there. That's just Ohio State hasn't played many games, but they did win their championship. And Notre Dame, that rubber match would be fun, but I don't think it'll end up playing out that way. But we'll find out in about 30 minutes. You said 12 o'clock.
Yeah, 29 minutes away. So we'll definitely find out regardless. Of course, I love Judge George's assessment of the NCAA College Playoff Selection Committee is garbage, and it'll all be for ratings. So, who knows what we'll get.
No, yeah, it always is. Always is.
But still, it's going to be interesting. So definitely make sure to check back. I'm sure we'll have a posting up later about it on who will be the top 4. And obviously we'll probably gripe and, yell and scream about it next week. But one thing we never gripe and scream and yell about is our amazing parent network, Podcast City Network. What can you tell us about that, Craig?
Final Score is a proud member of Podcast City Network. PCN is your home for up-and-coming podcasts. We have 19 podcasts on the network. To learn more about Podcast City Network, you can find all their social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/Podcast City Network. Twitter @PodcastCityNet. Website is podcastcity.net. You can find them also on YouTube. Search keyword Podcast City Network.
Yes, definitely make sure to check it out. A lot of great stuff that they're doing over there, including adding the newest show, Not a Hockey Market Podcast with George DeMoya. Definitely make sure to check that out as well. Podcastcity.net /Not a Hockey Market Podcast. So a lot of great stuff going on. And of course, you can always find us there. Podcastcity.net /FinalScore. A lot of great stuff going on. And that brings us, though, to a very exciting segment. We haven't had it in a few weeks, but this is going to be a good one. The good old give or go. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to throw this first one off at you. Giannis Antetokounmpo signs a Supermax deal to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. Give or go?
I want to give on this slightly. This is something we've talked about in a couple of the interviews that I've done this week. Giannis deciding to stay in Milwaukee is a pretty big deal, not only for Milwaukee, because now you have your expanding window. You've got about 4 more years, but he's got that 5-year deal, $228 million Supermax, has an opt-out after the 4th year. So this contract, you basically he could have gone somewhere else, and that was kind of the rumor is Giannis going to stay in Milwaukee? Is he going to leave? But him staying and getting more money to stay kind of shows a little bit of that loyalty. He's still being loyal to Milwaukee and that fan base and that ownership. So now, especially with the moves that they've made, Milwaukee is still right about the same spot they were last year. They're most likely going to win their division. They'll be one of the top 1 or 2 seeds in the Eastern Conference, and it's going to be a battle to see can they finally make it to the NBA Finals. But I think this is going to be a great move for Milwaukee. You basically now got 4 more years to try to win a championship before you're right back in this scenario all over again. Giannis needs to continue to develop more of his offensive game, develop a jump shot. They went and got some pieces to kind of help him out. They still got a little bit more to do, I think, but Giannis signing to stay in Milwaukee, great for the NBA, great for the city, great for Giannis.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the big thing, too, is that this is really good for Milwaukee just because you always know how hard it is for small market teams to be able to keep big talent like this. And for Giannis to want to show that kind of respect and show that he still wants to stay and try and win a championship with Milwaukee is absolutely amazing. And hats off to Milwaukee for getting it done, doing the right thing. Hats off to Giannis for also doing the right thing. And, hey, he's going to be balling in Milwaukee at least for another 5 years. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I think it's going to be good, and I think they can find some success. They just got to be able to find, I think, a couple more pieces to go around Giannis, and you might be able to make it actually happen. So we'll definitely see.
Absolutely. Next topic, the Major League Baseball reclassifies the Negro Leagues as a major league. Give or go.
Yes. Oh, we're going to give, and I absolute hats off. Brilliant move. Awesome move. Should have been done forever ago. The only thing a lot of people are griping about is that a lot of the records are being brought over as well and being integrated into the records for Major League Baseball. But honestly, to me, I don't think it matters. You should recognize those people. They played amazing ball while being segregated away from the main game until Jackie Robinson was able to bring down that color barrier all those years ago and bring us the sport that we have today. So hats off for Major League Baseball doing this, though. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's really funny the people that are griping about bringing those records over.
Mm-hmm.
What about the same records around that same time frame from Major League Baseball with all white guys?
Just
I
saying.
mean, it's a pretty even argument because there's inflated numbers from the old ball era of, there were no African Americans in Major League Baseball at that time, so a lot of guys' numbers were a little bit different then too. So if you're going to make the argument about, well, the Negro Leagues record shouldn't be brought in because they're not major league level players. They absolutely, half of them or more could have been, but there was segregation, so they couldn't get in the Major League Baseball. So that argument is completely dead, and I understand a lot of people do have that argument, but your argument's already dead in the water because you can make the same argument, a counter argument, against Major League Baseball in that same time frame.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So but it needed to happen. You know, there's so many arguments that can be made for it, but this was the right thing to do. And, you know, if you don't like it, tough, kick rocks. This is what's happening. But
exactly.
In our next one, the Cleveland Indians will be dropping the Indians nickname after this upcoming season. Now, we had already announced this about 2 or 3 months ago, but now they are kicking this into high gear. Give or go.
Well, that wasn't official until earlier this week. That was speculation that they could do it. Which,
no, they had announced they were going to, but it wasn't "quote unquote" official yet.
Yeah, they didn't know when they were going to do it, but they said they were readdressing whether they should keep the name.
Right.
But now it is official that they are going to be dropping it at the end of the season. So, of course, the speculation of what are some of the big names going to be, or what are some of the names now for the team. So nothing official has been thrown out, but there's been a lot of really fun submissions around Twitter, really. There's been things like the Spiders, the Rockers, which the Rockers were an old team with one of the female leagues. I think it was the WNBA had the Cleveland Rockers. There's been things like the Cleveland baseball team thrown out there. The Cleveland Naps, which was what one of the teams was called way back when, for one of their very famous players, Naps LaJoie was kind of the player and coach and GM kind of thing. It was really interesting. But there's some fun names. Do you have any thoughts on what it could be?
I know Spiders was a heavy one just because that was the name before they became the Indians. So I know that one was looked at heavily, except a lot of people are pushing back against it just because it's not a very popular mascot. Hard to make spiders nice, fuzzy, and friendly because I know if I see one, I will light it with fire and then burn the house down around it. So, you know, probably not the best idea. But there's a lot of names out there that probably could work out. But in this day and age, you know, you're still looking at over a year until you see this name actually dropped and changed. Who knows when the actual announcement will come of what the next name will be. There's been a lot of speculation of that as well. Some thought it was going to be sooner rather than later. Some things they'll take the Washington football team approach and just push it as far back as they can. But honestly, my vote is for Cleveland baseball team. I think they should just be bland and just, you know, uninteresting until they can figure out something and do it just the way the Washington football team, who's now winning their division, and maybe it could bring the Indians a little bit of luck. Who knows?
Hey, maybe that helps. I don't know. I like the Cleveland Rockers. I think that's a pretty good. You gotta go into dive in a little bit of the history of the city, but I think that. Yeah, I think that's a good name. I don't know if they'll go with it, but I'd be intrigued to see what the team kind of announces, if they do like a fan vote or if they do like fan submissions and kind of stuff. I think this is a really big opportunity for the Cleveland organization to really get their fans involved and kind of, and you know, some people are going to go in and ruin it, but
of course,
you know, at least take it into consideration.
I mean, as long as you don't end up with like the Cleveland turd sandwiches, I think you're going to be okay. But you know, we don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Oh my gosh, too much craziness.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, last topic here: the College Football Playoff Committee. The semifinal was originally scheduled for the Rose Bowl, but it is being moved to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Give or go.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to give on this a little bit because this was a late announcement last night after the ACC title game, sometime in the beginning of the SEC title game. This was announced. Yes, officially the Rose Bowl game is being moved. It's being rescheduled, being moved to Arlington, Texas, to AT&T Stadium, just because of a lot of the restrictions for COVID in California currently. And also yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, the day before, the state of California had announced that they were not going to change any of their restrictions for the Rose Bowl game, which pretty much put the nail in the coffin for the game even happening. So since they won't allow it, we also saw Notre Dame, which I think had a lot of pull in this. Brian Kelly had come out and said that Notre Dame will straight up boycott the college football playoff if they were to receive an invitation, if families are not allowed to see their kids play in person. I think it's a little bit of a selfish move. I think it also ended up being a distraction for the team, but to see Notre Dame really throw their weight around like that and be like, we'll just flat out boycott it, definitely doesn't send good signs. And obviously we're seeing the game being moved.
Yeah, I think Brian Kelly and company really they took that boycott to the next level by laying an egg in the ACC title game anyway.
Yeah, right.
So they really want to try to boycott this playoff. But no, in all seriousness, yeah, I agree. I think it's a little – I get it. You want the friends and family to go see the players, but it is a bit of a selfish move. They did move the site to a state that does allow fans, at least to some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. I'm a little surprised they didn't even move it to like Florida, because Florida is wide open as well.
Well, the thing with that, and this is the big thing that Brian Kelly was drawing a comparison to, which is why I'm not going to give him all crap for it, was the fact that other sites for the playoff were in more friendly states, such as Florida with the Orange Bowl. So that was the main argument that I think he was trying to make, where you got to try and make it fair all the way across the board, where you have two teams going to play in Florida where they can have their families and enjoy the atmosphere of what we normally would have in a playoff game, versus people trying to play at the Rose Bowl in California where there'd be absolutely nobody. So I can kind of understand the gripe, but at the same token, we're dealing with a damn pandemic. You all need to stop being selfish. That's my take. So,
absolutely.
But another take I have is something great for up-and-coming podcasts or new podcasts that want to try and get themselves out there, because now, if you did not know, you can actually join Podcast City Network, because they offer an array of membership services, including logo design and branding, social media advertising, and live podcast hosting, on top of so much more. And you also gain access to our network of shows to help with cross-promotion, guests, and overall reach, while also becoming a part of an ever-expanding community that's totally based on people helping people. And the best part is that there's no membership fees. So what are you waiting for? Go to podcastcity.net/join now and join the fastest growing independent podcast network around, Podcast City Network. That, man, if we're talking about that means it's time for a little bit of social madness. And I tell you what, we got some good ones lined up for this week. I'm really excited to show these off. And yes, I'm even going to dig at myself to start it all off. I posted a picture on social media yesterday, if you guys remember. Hold on, let me go ahead and throw it up right now. There it is. Yes, there it is. This was the picture with the face, literally as the ACC title game was getting ready to kick off. I was nervous and excited, and I'm not going to lie, I think I made the same face, except more drunkenly, about 3.5 hours after this picture, after we got our asses handed to us 34-10. So
you do a little bit of a scowl when you do it. You look like John Gruden.
Yeah, I kind of do have it like a little John Gruden, you know.
A little John Gruden, just pull the eyebrows down.
So, yeah, right? Does that mean I got a little John Gruden into me? Man, I don't know. We'll see. But, you know, it's crazy,
Spider to Y banana.
Yeah, right. I do Y banana. Spider Y banana. Oh, man. But you know what? Even though I missed the mark with that game, even a stormtrooper can't miss the mark when he knows he has to watch Final Score. That's right. Can't hit a rebel at point blank range. Still can't miss Final Score.
Yeah, a lot of these we try to repost a lot of these through all of our social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, of course. So yeah, just keep those coming in. We're showing a couple more, but keep those coming in. We like to share them, and they're a lot of fun.
Okay, and I don't know who made this next one. I really don't. But when I saw, I don't know if we stole this, if you made it, if maybe Jimmy made it. I don't know who made this. But the Water Boy starring Carson Wentz.
JDM posted that for us on Facebook. I don't know where he got it, but I think
it's too good.
I think I saw that floating around somewhere on the internet within the last week or two. So
oh my God, it kills me.
I think we borrowed that from somebody.
Yeah, probably. But you know what? The big questions out there for us are, you know, things like, how do we make Final Score better? What do we do to make the best sports show? And a lot of people say, you know, have good analytics, have good drama. But you know what we do? That's right. We just give you craziness and bomb-ass memes, and then we get kicked out of window somehow. I don't know.
Well, I think the quote was shit talk and post memes.
Yeah, shit talk and post memes.
There's talk shit and post memes.
I can't lie. I can't see all that well right now. Thanks, Hangover. So, but you know what? There's people out there that are thanking a certain quarterback for being able to come out, I think it's about a week ago, and make magic happen. And that was one Lamar Jackson, who ended up going out during his Monday night game between the Browns and the Ravens, had to do whatever business he had to do, and then came back and just won the game. And I tell you what,
Yeah.
these DK Metcalf memes never get old. Oh man.
Yeah, he dropped one in the locker room. They came out and dropped the Browns. So
Yeah. Yeah, he took the Browns to the Super Bowl and then destroyed the Browns. So
yeah,
oh, it's too good, man. It's too good. But this next one, I think I loved more than anything. I legit laughed out loud when I saw this. And we all know about JDM, George DeMoya, and how his wife beats him at fantasy football.
fantasy football.
Now we have a meme for it.
Yeah, and she actually commented on it. I think it was on Instagram and mentioned that. Yeah, true story.
Oh, it's too good. It's too good. But you know what?
That's great.
You know what? We love all these memes. We love all the stuff you guys submit to us. And if you guys ever have any memes you want to send to us, please send them, post them, whatever. But I know I'm always so excited and happy. Excuse me. Every time I see a notification that Jimmy LaBar has posted something on the Final Score page. and this is the last one we're going to show. Watching Social Madness on Final Score, and they showed my meme. I love it. I love it. So definitely, yes.
The cheesy face is great.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. Oh, man. But yes, if you have any memes or anything funny like that, definitely send it in to us. You might get featured on Final Score live here on Facebook Live. So definitely send it in. We love seeing them. We laugh our asses off every time we do. So definitely send them in. We love them. And hey, this is how Social Madness keeps going. So, but man, you know what else keeps us going?
A little bit of PodChaser.
A little bit of PodChaser. I love it.
PodChaser is your daily source for podcast discovery. Apple Podcasts is no longer the only credible place to rate and review podcasts. Follow creators, browse every podcast ever, and rate and review episodes. Just go to podchaser.com and search keyword Final Score, one word. Give us a follow, a rating, and a review.
Yes, definitely make sure to check us out on there. A lot of great stuff that we got going on. So we're trying to really branch out. So definitely make sure to check us out on PodChaser.
And if you're a podcaster and you're not following PodChaser on Twitter, you are missing out. That's a hilarious account. They post a lot of really funny stuff. So yeah, definitely check them out.
So we just a real quick though before we really dive into the week ahead. Actually, I guess this will be part of the week ahead. The AP poll just dropped for college football, and Notre Dame is still in the top 4. So could be a sign maybe of things to come here in about 11 minutes. Man, I wish we were still going to be live when we got to that point.
Right.
But yes, right now the AP poll has Alabama overwhelmingly in number 1. Clemson, number 2. Oop, hold on. Now they're trying to hit me with the pop-ups. Gotta love the internet with all their craziness. Ohio State, number 3, and Notre Dame, number 4. Alabama receives all first-place votes. So, that being said, that could be a sign of things to come, or the college football playoff might just turn everything on its head. Who knows? We'll definitely see.
That'd be wild, wouldn't it?
That would be pretty damn wild, but hey, it's 2020. You can never assume as to what's going to happen. But we do have a lot of things happening in the week ahead, including NBA tip-off. That's right. The next NBA season is now here, and we actually finally get to enjoy legit basketball.
Yeah, we kick off on, tip-off on Tuesday night, December 22nd. We got a couple of games, Golden State and Brooklyn on 7 p.m. on TNT, and the second of that doubleheader at 10 p.m., Clippers, Lakers, and then Wednesday night, we start into the full brunt of the NBA first half season. A lot of fun there, and looking forward to it. You know, we have those, like I said earlier in the show, those interviews talking about some NBA news and previews for the season. So go check those out and on YouTube. And yeah, NBA is going to be a lot of fun this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. Orlando opening up against the Heat. I can't wait for that. 7 p.m. at Amway. Going to be some fun stuff. I'm excited for the season to see what we're going to get. See what we're going to get out of the thing. Of course, you also can't forget, though, that we're also supposed to be having a College Bowl selection. It's supposed to be coming up, I think, this week for the bowl games. However, who knows how many of these are actually going to take place. So we're not really going to probably cover it too heavily. We'll probably do a quick recap next week if they actually do release a list and kind of play it by ear from there because, hey, it's 2020. You're pretty much getting what you're getting. So that's what you get.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the college basketball season. Not really many big matchups to speak of in the coming week. We had a couple of big games we didn't touch on the show that happened over the last week. But yeah, definitely college basketball fan. We're in the middle of it. Lots of games getting canceled, but that's kind of the world we live in with COVID.
Yep, COVID. I mean, it's just so bad. But we also have episode 87 of Final Score next Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, live here on Facebook Live. So definitely make sure to not miss that. And to not miss it, all you have to do is go on to any of our social media accounts at PCN Final Score. Give us a like, give us a follow, and check mark for the notification so you know when we go live. That way you don't miss out. It's that easy. Oh, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Last thing, go PCNshop.com. Check it out. Go get yourself. Probably can't get any for Christmas anymore, but we've always got some cool merchandise on there. Supports the show, and go follow the accounts: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Go check out those interviews. We're gonna roll those out again later this week.
And don't forget our follower numbers, trying to get those follower numbers up. So as you see above us where we're at right now, try and help us push those. Like, share, invite your friends, especially invite your friends and share with your friends. That is what helps us more than anything. So please, 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 at PCN Final Score on social media. But that does mean that is the end of our show. Thank you all so, so much for watching. I'll try and not be as hungover next week, but Notre Dame can't disappoint me then, so we should be okay. So that being said, I'm Chris and that's Craig, and you guys have just watched Final Score. Y'all have a great night.